I think it's something that we need to seriously think about.
This agreement was the developer's agreement back then.
It was a developer's agreement, yeah, with
It's only 2.25 pages long.
2.5 pages long. So
I didn't draft it.
Down deep in the sea can.
thank you, Michelle, for finding that. At the meeting earlier this month, Michelle handed me a bunch of files from
They're here by now.
phase 1 and phase 2. So I sent the pertinent files to Dennis, and I just think that's a conversation that needs to be continued in the future here. How are we gonna handle that to make sure that folks aren't getting flooded out by the water from our cul-de-sac? So,
TJ, what cul-de-sac are you talking about?
it's the Shire plan, Larry. It's Hobbit Lane comes off of 88, as you well know, goes up to the top of the hill, it splits. There's 2 cul-de-sacs. If you make the right-hand turn to go up by Pennsylvania American's tanks,
Thanks, right?
it's that cul-de-sac up there at the end of the way.
So you're talking about the cul-de-sac by the tanks?
Correct, yes. So there's an inlet right in that cul-de-sac that has no place to drain to.
On that map, where's that at on the map? Can you just take a pen and just mark where this.
This is where
Where
the
they're
maze
partially
wanna do,
removed.
yeah.
So this is the cul-de-sac right here, Larry.
Right.
There's a catch basin that sits right here, and there's a pipe that goes down in between lots, the former lots 16
Well,
and
at
17.
the
that goes into
approved
the garage.
end, at the approved end of Hobbit Lane, there is no cul-de-sac.
That's right, yes.
That's what we had an hour and a half discussion about today.
Yeah.
The one on Aragon doesn't go anywhere, other than on the.
Right. So the issue is with the cul-de-sac at, I call it at the water tanks.
Yep.
Off of Aragon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mrs. Canavy was talking to me before the meeting started about dedication of property by the Mays, I'll describe it, to the township, so a cul-de-sac can be constructed at the end of Hobbit Lane. Correct, Lori?
That's right, that's right.
All right,
Yeah.
let's assume we get sufficient property to meet the requirements of PennDOT. We have an appropriate
Turn around.
diameter,
Mhm.
it'll provide an appropriate turnaround, and you're gonna have problems without water, then the Hobbit, draining down towards the property that they want to purchase.
Well, that would be our responsibility as well, yes.
Right, exactly.
Yes, you're right.
So you have 2 obligations up there. One, a potential cul-de-sac being constructed
That's right.
at the end of Hobbit Lane, and the one already existing at the top of Aragon.
That's correct, yes.
Well, let me ask you this question. We had a lengthy planning commission meeting today, and the owners of the May subdivision, if a cul-de-sac is created, which it has to be, they're not going to build it. They're not going to pave it, nor are they going to pave the stormwater.
Right.
What's your position on that? That's what they're telling us. I'm just making you guys aware of it. It's not.
They don't wanna be responsible to pay for putting in a cul-de-sac.
Correct.
That's their position.
Again, we need the microphones.
My microphone's there, but, so the question is, this is what they said, you know, they will give us the cul-de-sac, but they expect the township to, be responsible for the cost, labor, material, to put the drainage in and to pave the cul-de-sac. Is that something you're willing to do?
Well, what is our ordinance and our obligation legally?
Normally, that's normally the responsibility is up to the developer.
But there's no developer,
Would
there's
they have to
technically
sign
no
a
developer.
developer's agreement with the township?
Well, I've done it before for people, and normally that's responsible of the owner.
So, my nephew was.
Am I right, Harold?
Yes.
TJ? My experience.
My nephew was gonna purchase a piece of property that was half in South Park, half in Union Township off of Cardox Road, but it also came in, Overlook or whatever in South Park. It was the same situation. It was a developer called Brian Holmes. Person died, cul-de-sac, it was never finished, but for him to purchase that, he had to put a cul-de-sac on the South Park side, closing that development, but that was on him. So it was a very similar situation, and it's a piece of property that was sitting on the market for years and years. He didn't even want an entrance over there, he wanted an entrance on Carlos. It's now the Rauscher farm. He had passed up on the property and the Rauschers had bought it, but South Park insisted that he not only puts in the, you know, that a cul-de-sac's there in dedicated ground, that he was paying for it.
Yep.
So,
I'm just giving you a heads up.
So then,
and he didn't even want an entrance on that side. He didn't even want a driveway on that side. He wanted to come off of the,
What would you estimate the cost to be to put a cul-de-sac in?
Well, you're 80 feet of paving across, plus the stone subbase.
and
So-
a culvert.
What would that, yeah, plus catch basins, probably, I don't know, $100,000?
That's why my nephew walked the deal. He didn't
So-
pay that kind of money.
That's just a guess off the top of my head.
If you put catch basins in there, where they gonna drain to, where's the
That's-
water
I
gonna
mean,
go?
your mill and overlay was what, $75 a square yard, we estimated, so that's just for the mill and overlay.
And if you build the cul-de-sac, the issue's gonna be called stormwater.
Well, that's what I'm saying, you put
And then basically,
catch basins, where you gonna go?
I'm seeing a lot of, we're getting sued different municipalities that, saying that you're directing flow of water. I've got 3 cases right now, where people, there's an argument on it, that one case involves 7 figures, 2 is a lot smaller. So you have to be careful when you do stormwater. You can't be putting culverts anymore. Be nice to people to drain into creeks, because people are sue you now. So the water flows naturally, as far as I'm concerned.
so if we go against what recommendations of our code, zoning, our engineer or solicitor, then anyone who has a development in other areas, like, let's say wants a cul-de-sac put in and paid for by the township, have you started a precedence?
Ask any of you looking for all kinds of cul-de-sacs.
I'm just telling them.
I wouldn't roll with that.
All right, go ahead, I never, what else do you want?
Okay.
All right, so there's that.